A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Inshallah, we are continuing today with chapter number 4, verse number 87 to 101. As usual, inshallah, for the first about 5 minutes, we shall do the actual English translation of these verses. And after that, inshallah, we shall discuss these verses. So let's start. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. God, there is no God except He. He will gather you to the day of resurrection, in which there is no doubt, and who speaks more truly than God? What is the matter with you, divided into two factions regarding the hypocrites, when God Himself has overwhelmed them on account of what they did? Do you want to guide those whom God has led astray? Whomever God leads astray, you will never find for him a way. They would love to see you disbelieve just as they disbelieve, so you would become equal. So do not befriend any of them unless they immigrate in the way of God. If they turn away, seize them and execute them wherever you may find them, and do not take from among them allies or supporters, except those who join people with whom you have a treaty, or those who come to you reluctant to fight you or fight their own people. Had God willed, He would have given them power over you, and they would have fought you. If they withdraw from you and don't fight you and offer you peace, then God assigned no excuse for you against them. You will find others who want security from you and security from their own people, but whenever they are tempted into civil discord, they plunge into it. So if they do not withdraw from you, nor offer you peace, nor restrain their hands, seize them and execute them wherever you find them. Against these we have given you clear authorization. Never should a believer kill another believer unless by error. Anyone who kills a believer by error must set free a believing slave and pay compensation to the victim's family unless they remit it as charity. If the victim belongs to a people who are hostile to you but is a believer, then the compensation is to free a believing slave. If he belongs to a people with whom you have a treaty, then compensation should be handed over to his family and a believing slave set free. Anyone who lacks the means must fast for 2 consecutive months by way of repentance to God. God is all-knowing, most wise. Whoever kills a believer deliberately, the penalty for him is hell, where he will remain forever, and God will be angry with him and will curse him and will prepare for him a terrible punishment. O you who believe, when you journey in the way of God, investigate and do not say to him who offers you peace, you are not a believer, aspiring for the goods of this world. With God are abundant riches. You yourself were like this before, and God bestowed a favor on you. So investigate. God is well aware of what you do. Not equal are the inactive among the believers, except the disabled, and the strivers in the cause of God with their possessions and their persons. God prefers the strivers with their possessions and their persons above the inactive by a degree, but God has promised goodness to both. Yet God favors the strivers over the inactive with a great reward. Degrees from Him and forgiveness and mercy. God is forgiving and merciful. While the angels are removing the souls of those who have wronged themselves, they will say, "What was the matter with you?" They will say, "We were oppressed in the land." They will say, "Was God's earth not vast enough for you to immigrate in it?" Their refuge is hell. What a wretched retreat! Except for the weak among men and women and children who have no means to act and no means to find a way out. These God may well pardon them. God is pardoning and forgiving. Anyone who immigrates for the sake of God will find on earth many places of refuge and plenitude. Anyone who leaves his home immigrating to God and His messenger and then is overtaken by death, his compensation falls on God. God is forgiver, most merciful. When you travel in the land, there is no blame on you for shortening the prayer, if you fear that the disbelievers may harm you. The disbelievers are your manifest enemies. Alhamdulillah, we have finished the translation of today's verses. Chapter number 4, Al-Nisa, verse number 87 to 101. Now let's discuss these verses, but before we go into specific discussions, one general theme and flavor we are seeing in today's verses, and that is the discussion about the immigration, the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted everyone to immigrate as per the requirements of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the requirements of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And whoever did not agree to immigrate or migrate, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking in these verses about the severe punishment they will be given, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's anger and displeasure. Now, one thing we have to appreciate throughout today's verses, that this topic of migration or immigration to another place, this is, as once again, this is something which is not strictly applicable in today's day and time, because just like I said earlier in my videos, the jihad which was there earlier is not applicable in today's day and time, because each and every one of us, all the Muslims, we are civilians, we are citizens of a Muslim country which has a government and an army, and this central command is supposed to take care of all the wars and jihad. But if they will ever call us for help in person or through charity in this cause, then only we are supposed to get involved in this matter. Similarly, this migration or immigration to another place, that is also not applicable these days, because as we all know, we all are civilians of a country, and the whole earth is under control of different countries, and one cannot move from one country to another country without going through their legal channels, legal immigration process, legal visa process. So it's not possible to migrate or immigrate from one country to another country without going through these legal requirements of immigration of respective countries. And therefore, the fact that immigration or migration was needed earlier as per these verses, which was freely possible, is not possible these days. And even within a country, the whole country is under the same law and order, same rules. So the migration from one city to another city may not always be desirable or required in today's day and time. So these are things which one can clearly see while reading the Quran Pak, that there are areas in Quran Pak where there is no complication, there is no complexity when we try to apply these verses based on today's day and time and the changing environment. And these are some areas which are very easy to understand for even common Muslims like myself. We don't have to go to muftis or alims to seek ijtihad or to seek fatwa on these things. These are absolutely clear-cut, basic understanding matters for which we should have full confidence in the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we should be able to conclude on our own certain basic things. Just like I said, the jihad is no longer applicable these days. Of course, as I always say, today's jihad is what is even as critical as the jihad which was there earlier during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and after that. And today's jihad is to try to convert these sinful Muslim societies into more pure and righteous and well-guided Muslim societies. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala many times in Quran Pak has given this duty on each Muslim individually and collectively, the duty of Amr bil Maruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. So we have to call people towards good things and good deeds and stop them from bad deeds and sinfulness. So this is our today's jihad, which is absolutely compulsory and critical in today's day and time. And as we will see in today's verses also, if we are not doing this duty, we will be subject to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's displeasure and anger and punishment on the day of judgment. So, in verse 89 today, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that if they don't migrate, if they don't listen to you, they don't agree with you, then you seize them and kill them wherever you find them. So as usual, as I always say, this kind of killing is also not applicable in today's day and time. This was a specific permission given for that specific time, for specifically to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are not supposed to get involved in this kind of terrorism and killing. And then in verse number 90, towards the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, if you have a peace treaty with someone and they don't fight with you and they send you offer of peace, then God has not given you unlimited free hand to just be unfair with them. So imagine what we do. All these terrorists, what they do, they kill innocent Muslims and non-Muslims, and they have no reason to do this, and they are not at all fair. Wherever, even at that time when there was a need to do killings of such elements in the society, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not allow a free hand, did not allow injustice and unfair treatment of anyone, including mushrik, including non-Muslims. And then in 91 again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying the same thing, that you cannot execute if they have a treaty with you. So we are getting from today's verses also this hint that terrorism is not allowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no free hand, free license to kill, whether Muslims or non-Muslims. It's a big sin, and we must not indulge in it, and we must not appreciate terrorists. We must not get impressed with them, and we must show our displeasure with such acts. And then throughout today's verses, we are seeing the same thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the importance of following Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's requirements of migration and all that. And in verse number 95, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, not equal are the inactive among believers except the disabled and the strivers in the cause of God with their possessions and their persons. God prefers the strivers over inactive people. So over here again the same thing, that the jihad at that time was different, but today's jihad is, as I mentioned earlier, today's jihad is Amr bil Maruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. We have to call people towards good things and stop them from sinfulness. So this is our today's jihad. Every Muslim society is full of Muslims for namesake only, and hypocrite Muslim societies are fully drowned in big sins and corruption and bribery and indecencies and injustice. The justice system is bad. The governing system is bad, social system is bad, economic system is bad, and all these systems are against the rules and guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to do individually and collectively this jihad, and this is a duty upon us. If we will not fulfill this duty, it suffers on us. Then we will be subject to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala displeasure, and we will be punished on the day of judgment. As we all know, there is an authentic hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam also, where he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Jibril alayhi salam to destroy a village, a town, by squashing them with mountains, by putting mountains over these towns. And then the Jibril alayhi salam said, Ya Parvardigare Alam, but you have in this town, in this village, you also have this most pious person who is really your very pious, righteous worshipper, your Momin Banda, who is 24/7 only doing your zikr and your worshipping you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, first you go and destroy this person, first kill this person, first punish this person, because he is selfish. He is only thinking about himself. He is not bothered about what's happening around him. People are sinful. They are not worshipping me. They are not following my guidance. And it's not bothering him. He is not at all concerned about this thing. And he is only worried about his own salvation on the last day. So he is the biggest sinner. First destroy him. So this is a fact. This is an authentic hadith. It's not a weak hadith. So this is a fact applicable applicable to all of us individually and collectively. If we will not try our best in our own capacity to the best of what we can do as to our capability, then we are subject to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala displeasure. We have to individually and collectively create a jamaat, create a group who should do peaceful protest, who should boycott sinners, who should discourage people who are taking bribes, who should highlight people who are taking bribes. Even anonymously, it's important to socially boycott these people and try to convert the society from this sinfulness slowly towards the pure, clean society and Islamic society, no matter how long it takes, whether it takes generations, whether it takes centuries, it doesn't matter. But we have to start this process. We have to start this process individually from our own self, and then a time will come, no matter when, whether it's 10 years, 50 years, 100 years or 500 years, when a Muslim Ummah inshallah will be pure and pak and a role model, progressive, modern Ummah as per the guidance of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the guidance and orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you see how Islam will become the most attractive and most tempting religion in the world, and all non-Muslims will also run towards it, and that's when this religion and this faith will become the most beautiful, not what we are seeing today. It is the most disgusting and the most repenting faith as of now. And with this we come to the end of today's video. But before I finish, I will do the same thing. I will say the same thing which I always say, whether we are billionaires or beggars or anyone in between, if our efforts are not for the success of the life hereafter, we are the most dumb and we are the biggest failure. And the second message I give is that Let's Live Quran series is a message from a common Muslim to all common Muslims. I am a common Muslim. I am not an alim, not a mufti, not a mufakkir, not a hafiz. I just try to spend some time with Quran Sharif in the language which I understand, and that's the message to all common Muslims from Let's Live Quran, that you don't need to be an alim, a mufti, a mufakkir or a hafiz to understand Quran Pak. You just spend some time on Quran Pak in the language which you understand. Take out little time from your social media, from your dramas, from your movies, from your music, and from your worldly gossip sessions, and connect yourself with Quran Pak. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will attract you towards it, give you the guidance which you are looking for, and inshallah we all will become basic Muslims, and then our journey will start, and inshallah a day will come when we all will become good, pure Muslims and Momins. And remember, getting the Islam guidance, the basic guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Quran and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam hadith is not a profession. Islamic profession is reserved for only 1, 2 or 3 or 5% of people who should be alim and mufti and mufakkirs and hafiz, but it is not for common Muslim. We don't need to even go to alims and mufakkirs and hafiz and madrasas. We can just directly read Quran Pak, just like we try to educate ourselves in worldly knowledge. We just read Quran Pak in the language we understand, and inshallah we will get the guaranteed basic guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will, as a guarantee, will become at least a basic Muslim, which means that we will have 100% rock solid iman on everything, and we will not do any big sins, and we will be pure and pak, and we will do all faraiz of Islam. And inshallah a time will come when we will also start avoiding small sins and become a mu'min. With these words, I will also draw the attention to our basic duty as a Muslim, and that basic duty is, which I always say, Amar bil Maruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. We have to call people towards good things and stop them from sinfulness. May Allah give us guidance to follow His message. Allah Hafiz.